Hey guys, it's Michelle here with Next Chapter Counseling. I got another question that I'm answering for you guys. So, the question that I got this week is, what can I do if I feel angry towards my partner? Basically, what can I do to make sure that doesn't affect our relationship negatively and that I don't take my anger out on them in a way that I'm not going to feel good about? So, I'm really proud of this person for asking this question because anger is an emotion that we don't tend to talk about much in our society. It tends to be given a pretty bad name, and people don't tend to see how anger can actually be a good thing to feel. So people just are told throughout their lives to, bottle their anger in a way, and it's really not constructive. So before I get into actually what you can do when you're feeling angry towards your partner, I want to talk about just a little bit more of what anger is and why we have it. So, a couple of the positive purposes that anger serves. One is that anger serves as protection for us. If you think about let's say you're walking down the street and you see someone across the street and they're appearing angry, right? They're yelling and they look kind of aggressive, you're probably going to stay away from that person. I would imagine. You're probably going to be "Ugh, I'm not going to go over there. They're having a moment. I don't want to be around that." Anger is very good at building walls around us so that we're protected from outside people and outside things. So a lot of people, whether they realize it or not, when they express their anger, in a way, it keeps them safe because it stops other people from getting closer to them, especially if that person has a history of trauma or being hurt by other people throughout their lives. Them expressing anger is going to keep people at arm's length, and that can actually be something that they need, is to have some space between them and others. So that's one purpose that anger serves. Another purpose that anger serves is that it motivates us to action. When you hear about political movements or marches, those people are all there because they're angry about something. They're fighting for a cause, and their anger about what's happening has gotten so big that they're willing to take a stand and get motivated to do something about it. So anger actually can be a really good thing a lot of the times. What I also tell my clients when it comes to anger is that anger is an emotion that typically has a shadow, is what I call it. So if you imagine there's anger walking along, and then it has this shadow, which is another emotion. It never really goes by itself. Whenever we feel angry, we typically feel another emotion in addition to the anger. And that other emotion tends to be typically either fear or hurt. Those are the two most common emotions that people feel in addition to feeling angry. So those are all things to keep in mind as I'm going through answering this question today. Anger is not this terrible bad thing that sometimes we think it is. So in terms of what to do, I'm going to walk you through some steps. I would encourage you to do these in order, and hopefully this will help, for one, decrease your anger towards your partner, but for two, help you just feel more empowered, when you do feel angry, rather than feeling ashamed or bad about it. So the first thing that I encourage you to do is actually just what I was talking about. Try to identify what the other emotion is that you might be feeling in addition to anger. So take a moment to pause and think to yourself, what else am I feeling here? Sometimes you might be able to see this pretty clearly. Other times this might be a little tougher to figure out. You might need to journal about it a little bit or talk some things out with a friend or a therapist first. But try to see if you can identify what the other emotion is. If for some reason this feels too hard for you and you're I can't figure out what else I'm feeling, that's okay. I'll tell you when to come back to this. But try that first and see if you can figure it out right off the bat. The second step is actually probably contrary to a lot of things that you may have heard about anger. People typically say, well, when you're angry, you need to calm down. You need to take some deep breaths. You need to count to 10, all these things. And I actually recommend something different when you feel angry. Rather than trying to be still and to again, in a way, kind of keep that anger all inside, I actually encourage people to do something physical. Anger typically can make us feel like we want to do something. This is why you see people unfortunately, again, the way we think of anger coming out is like through hitting people or like throwing things. The reason why that happens is because anger like is makes us like want to move a lot of the time. So it's figuring out how to do that in a way that's safe and not going to hurt anybody or anything. So I encourage you here with the second step to, for about 10 minutes if you can, again, like do only what your body is capable of doing, don't push yourself too much, but to do something physical for about 10 minutes, whether that's like cleaning something in your house, whether that's going for a walk. That's the most common one I recommend, is to go for a walk. Either walk like pace within your house, walk outside around the block. Like, you can punch a pillow, that's healthy. The pillow's going to be fine at the end of that, and hopefully so are you, because it's soft. Punch a pillow, punch a punch bag if you have one. Like, do something that's physical and safe for about 10 minutes and see what that does. Don't get me wrong, if counting to 10 or breathing works for you, absolutely do that. I just know for a lot of people, they've tried that and it really doesn't help as much as they wish it would. So I recommend trying this instead. And after you've done the second step, if you weren't able to do the first one of being able to tell what other emotion you're feeling, after you've done step number 2, then come back and check in with yourself again and be like, okay, let me see if I can get an answer to that question now. Because hopefully, even though this isn't going to probably make the anger go away entirely, which is totally fine, hopefully after you've done something physical for 10 minutes, it might feel a little more manageable and like it's gone down a little bit so that you feel a little more calm. So re-ask yourself that question if you had to skip step 1 at first. Step number 3 is also something probably different to what you've normally heard. Step number 3 is that I encourage you to, after you've done something physical for a little while, spend some time with your partner like you normally would. Be in your normal routine. Don't avoid them. Again, it's common that people are like, well, when I get mad at my partner, I just take space until I'm not mad at them anymore. Like, I just kind of avoid them. Like, I leave the house, I go do something else. I just stay, in this room all night long. Like, I separate because I just don't want to be around them, and then I wait till I'm calm and then I come back. So don't get me wrong, like, if you are feeling so angry even after like doing something physical for a little bit, if you're feeling so angry that you're like, I really can't be around them, like, I don't trust myself, I am worried I'm gonna like destroy some property or that I'm going to hurt my partner, then of course, safety comes first. Don't be around them if that's how strong you're feeling with your anger. But chances are you're probably able to be around them, even if you're like, still pissed off inside, like, you're able to be around them without hurting them, property, yourself. And so I encourage you to be in their presence, because here's the thing is that when we take too much space from our partner, this creates distance rather than connection. Taking some time alone can be helpful. That's what this 10 minutes is for, really, is for you to get a little bit of time away, do something on your own, then see how you feel. But don't take so much time away from your partner that you guys aren't really talking or you're not really spending any time together. Like, get back into your normal routine. Eat dinner together. If you guys watch TV together at night, sit by them on the couch and watch TV with them. Like, do your normal things even if you're angry, because that's what's going to help you start rebuilding the connection and repairing whatever happened that led to you feeling angry in the first place. So that's the third step. Now, hopefully you do those 3 steps and that's all you need, and your anger will, pass. Sometimes our emotions pass really quickly. Sometimes they stick around for a little while. So step number 4 is kind of a bonus or an as needed step. But if you really decide that you want to talk about what made you angry with your partner, like, especially if your anger is sticking around and it is affecting like the quality of your relationship, because you just have this inner turmoil going on inside of you and you're like, I need to talk about this with them, then I encourage you to do that. What I do recommend is that when you have that conversation, rather than going into it saying, well, this is what made me mad, remember step number 1 of identifying that other emotion. Talk about that emotion. It's not that you don't want to talk about the anger or pretend it's not there. You can talk about that too, but that other emotion, that's the nitty gritty, like meaty stuff. That's the vulnerability. Again, anger isn't vulnerable. Anger is walls built up. We want to let your partner into what you're really feeling deep down underneath that anger. So choose to talk about that emotion with your partner first and foremost when you do have a conversation about what happened. Talk about that more than just talking about the anger, and see how that goes in terms of resolving things. So that's what I got for you guys this week. If you have a question for me, email it at nextchapter.michelle@gmail.com. Thanks, guys. Bye.